This is an estate which was purchased by my family in 1958. They were returning from North Africa in hope of establishing themselves in the southwest of France, where our ancestors had lived up until the middle of the 19th century. When my father discovered this estate, he was attracted to the history attached to it. This property was established at the 18th century, in 1731 exactly, and was owned by the governor of Sainte-Foy-la-Grande. My father was also attracted by the potential of the vineyard offered by the estate, which has a unique soil and has been producing Bordeaux Clairet now for more than 4 centuries. The Gazagnol family arrived in 1958, following a long tradition of vine growers, which goes back for 6 generations. Their ancestors left the Corbière area during the 19th century, arriving in Algeria to plant the first vineyards. Then, in 1920, they planted the first vineyards in Morocco. The estate of Château de Parenchère covers 153 hectares, of which the best situated, 65, are dedicated to the vineyard. Wishing to keep a respectable age of my vines, I replace little by little the vines with high density at 6,000 vines per hectare. This is what I have done on this 4-hectare field planted in 1997. The ideal encépagement was determined by my father and then by myself over 44 years. It was arrived at by us adapting to the exposition and nature of the soil. What makes the Parenchère wines original is the practically equal blend of Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot grapes. Like this, there is the structure of Cabernet Sauvignon, which is remarkably adapted to the Parenchère soil, married to the finesse, the suppleness and the charm of Merlot.
Qui apporte une certaine complexité dans les cuvées. Bien, là, nous allons voir.
Here we are in the heart of the Parenchère vineyard, replanted in 1958, that I replant by complantation. This means that each vine is replaced when it dies. This way, there's no need to replace the whole field in one go, and a maximum of all vines is ensured. This is a field of vines that produces La Cuvée Raphaël Gazagnol. From the 65 hectares, I produce 400,000 bottles of wine. 80 to 100,000 bottles of first wine carry the name Cuvée Raphaël, named in memory of my father, representing the best of my production. It is a selection of the oldest vines and the best vats. It is generally produced from 50% of Merlot and 50% of Cabernet Sauvignon, and aged in barrels, 30 to 40% of which are renewed each year. It is a wine that recently Mr. Parker himself commented on saying, "Now that Léoville Lascaz costs more than $200 a bottle, I advise also the Parenchère." I produce another cuvée that carries the name of the Chateau and produces 300,000 bottles. Despite evolving quicker than the Cuvée Raphaël, it is still a very concentrated wine, which is intended to age for 6 to 7 years. These 2 cuvées are distributed in more than 50 countries around the world. I produce another type of wine, which is a clairet that comes from the saignée, which is the juice extracted from each vat before the fermentation, and vinifies at low temperature to preserve all of its fruitiness. There are wines that are situated between the red wines and the rosé wines, and are appreciated during their tender age and served chilled, like the rosé.
Bien, donc nous situons ici dans...
Here we are in the chais d'élevage, where we finished the wine. In the 18th century, these were the chais de vinification, where they made the wine. The cuvée, which carries the Chateau's name, is finished in these big oak vats. The Cuvée Raphaël is aged in barrels of Mérin oak, 30 to 40% of which are renewed each year. Here we are in Le Chais, where the Cuvée Raphaël is uniquely aged in barrels. For this vintage, 2001, which is being aged this moment, 40% of the barrels are new and have been produced exclusively from oak originated from the famous Tronchet forest. I'm now tasting the 2001 vintage. I taste it regularly every month to follow its evolution and to determine whether or not it has to be oxygenated. 2001 is a very interesting year because it is characterized by a beautiful harmony of tannin and fruits, finesse, concentration and structure. A vintage which will start to be appreciated from next year and will develop during the next 10 years.
Le vieillissement avant de révéler toute sa finesse et sa complexité.